Hello children, I hope you all are doing good. So stay home and be safe. Today I am going to take Unit 5, The Adventures of an Understudy. So this story is written by Sir Anthony Hope Hawkins. He is better known as Anthony Hope. He was an English novelist and playwright. He was a prolific writer, especially of adventures novels. But he is remembered predominantly for only two books, The Prisoner of Zenda and its sequel, Rupert of Hentzau. So this is taken from The Prisoner of Zenda. So now, here Razintel is travelling from England to Ruritania to see the coronation of King Rudolph. A chance meeting in the woods brings Razintel and Rudolph face to face, and they discover that they look exactly alike. Even their hair is the same shade of brilliant red, the color of Rudolph's royal Elfberg family. The next day, Rudolph is found unconscious and unable to attend his coronation. But the show must go on, or else the king's half-brother and enemy Black Michael, the Duke of Streltsau, will take over the throne. For the sake of Ruritania, Razintel must pretend to be Rudolph for the day and take part in the coronation. The king's friends Colonel Sapt and Fritz von Tarlium promise to help. But will Razintel manage to deceive Black Michael and Princess Flavia, the woman who Rudolph is engaged to marry? Now we'll read it to find out. Now, here, Rudolph, Razintel's sister-in-law, Rose urges him to do something useful with his life. Lord Bullitzin, Razintel's brother, tells Razintel that he has found him a job as an attached to Sir Jacob Bordale, an ambassador to Ruritania. As the job will only start in 6 months, Razintel decides to attend the coronation of King Rudolph V, which is to take place in Ruritania. So now, Razintel leaves for Ruritania. For why he is leaving to Ruritania? He is just leaving to Ruritania to watch the coronation. He meets his friend George in Paris. George tells him about Antoinette de Morban, who is also travelling to Ruritania on the same trip. The coronation has been brought forward. Razintel is unable to get a room to stay. He decides to spend the night at an inn in Zenda, a small town about 50 miles from the capital. He hears about the king, Duke Michael, or we can call it Black Michael, and Princess Flavia, and the fight for the throne. John, Duke Michael's forest guard, tells Razintel that both Razintel and the king have red hair. The next morning, Razintel takes a walk in the forest. He meets Colonel Sapt and Fritz von. They serve King Rudolph and are loyal to him. They tell him that he looks exactly like their king, except that he has a beard. At that moment, King Rudolph appears. He is stunned by the resemblance between himself and Razintel. The king invites Razintel to the hunting lodge where he is staying. They have dinner and a few drinks. Joseph, a faithful servant of the king, walks in with a bottle of wine, a gift from Duke Michael. The king finishes the wine all by himself. The next morning, they discover that the king has been drugged. The drug was in the wine sent by Duke Michael, since both the king and Razintel look alike. Sapt suggests that Razintel takes the place of the king and attends the coronation. Fritz thinks it is a good idea too. Razintel agrees to take the king's place. Razintel shaves his beard and wears the king's uniform. The king is hidden in a cellar and Joseph is to look after him. The old woman who cooked or them is tied up and left in another cell. They take the train to Streltsau. Several ministers and the head of the army of Ruritania are introduced to Razintel. No one realizes that he is not the real king. The coronation procession begins. The people of the new town give the king a rousing welcome. There is hardly any trouble in the old town. Razintel rides bravely down the streets and wins the heart of the townspeople. The procession stops at the cathedral for the coronation. Razintel is crowned king. The Razintel meets Black Michael and Princess Flavia for the first time. The princess tells him that she finds him rather different. Black Michael leaves for Zenda. Both Sapt and Razintel also leaves for Zenda. They use a secret passage to leave the palace. They ride towards Zenda. Along the way, they see Duke Michael and Max Hoff ride towards the castle. At the lodge, Razintel and Sapt find the cook missing and Joseph dead. The king is missing too. Sapt realizes that Duke Michael has captured the king. Sapt tells Razintel that he has to continue playing the part of the king until the king is saved. 8 of Black Michael's men arrive to bury Joseph's body. Sapt and Razintel attack and kill 3 of them. A bullet hits Razintel's hand, injuring one of his fingers. Razintel and Sapt reach Stelzu safely. Razintel carries out the king's duties. Fritz informs them that Black Michael is back in Strelazoo. Only 3 of Black Michael's famous 6 are with him. Sapt believes that the king is alive and that the rest of the famous 6 are guarding him. Razintel leaves for an appointment with Princess Flavia. Razintel and Fritz ride off to Princess Flavia's house. Razintel realizes that he is in love with the princess. He knows that it is wrong as he is not the true king. Princess Flavia is pleased to meet Razintel, unaware that he is not the real king. Duke Michael also calls on the princess. Razintel makes Duke Michael angry when he unknowingly kept Duke Michael waiting to see the princess. Duke Michael introduces Razintel to the 3 men who are part of the famous 6 Berzonin, the Gautet and Detchard. Sapt informs Razintel that the king is being held prisoner in Zenda Castle. Razintel receives a letter from Antoinette de Morban. She wants him to meet her as she has information that might save him. Razintel meets Antoinette. She says that Duke Michael forced her to write the letter. She tells Razintel about the Duke's plan to take over the throne and marry Princess Flavia. She urges him to leave at once because 3 of the famous 6 are on their way there to kill him. They arrive and a fight breaks out. Razintel escapes unhurt. The next afternoon, Sapt informs Razintel that the Duke, his 3 men and Antoinette have left of the city for Zenda. During a dance at night, both Razintel and the princess confess their love for each other. Razintel realizes that she really loves him. Rudolph Razintel and not the king. He wants to tell the princess the truth, but Sapt stops him. The news about the proposal spreads. The people are happy and cheer for the couple. Razintel feels torn between his love for Flavia and being honorable to the king. He decides to rescue the king. Razintel, Sapt and Fritz head to Zenda with 10 other men. Sapt spreads the news that they are going hunting near Zenda. Before leaving, Razintel tells Marshall to help rule the country until Princess Flavia is crowned queen if anything happens to the king. Razintel and his men leave for the castle of Tarlintium. Duke Michael sends 3 of his famous 6, the Ruritanians, to visit Razintel at the castle. Razintel meets Rupert of Henzau for the first time. Razendel goes to the inn in Zenda with Fritz. He reveals himself as a king to the daughter of the innkeeper. He asks her to tell Johanna to meet her at the bridge just outside Zenda at 10 o'clock the next night. Seth wants Razendel to be careful. Berenstein was shot because he was mistaken for Razendel. That's all.